So yes, as the title says, we are going to be leaving our RV behind. But it's not quite what you think. We are only leaving it behind temporarily. Why?
Because we decided it made more sense. The truth is we needed to be in Abilene, Texas for Christmas with our daughter, and then we needed to be in Tampa at the beginning of January. Well, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time.
Yeah, and it's it's an over 11 hour drive in a car from where we are to Abilene, Texas. So to get there in an RV comfortably, because we don't like to travel more than 3 or 4 hours a day and then spend a few days at wherever we stop, it would take us a week to get to Abilene at that rate.
Not that we couldn't do it, because we've done it before.
Yeah.
It's just a choice that we don't want to do anymore. So we decided that renting a vehicle and making that trip would be a better plan.
It's our idea, and I think it's a better plan.
So lucky for us, we're able to leave our RV at a military installation while we make the journey. So we feel comfortable doing that. But, we want to make sure that we do some of the safety things that, you would do when you leave your RV for any length of time. I mean, we want to make sure the water's shut off. We're going to put the slides in and everything kind of buttoned up and ready to roll to our next destination. Because just about the time we come back, we're going to be rolling right back out and going somewhere else. So we want to make sure that those things are done. And we know that you guys probably have a lot of things that you do when you're going to leave your RV for a short amount of time. And so maybe you can put those in the comments if you have suggestions.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people may think, well, wait a minute, you're leaving your RV for how long? Now, we have left our RV at this specific park even for a week. Well, we weren't full-timers then. But again, for that situation, that made sense because we were going to Florida to meet some friends at Disney, and then we were coming right back here, and we were staying in a condo with our friends. So to drive the RV down didn't really make any sense because we were going to have to find a place to put it up at a campground or something, and then it's just going to sit there. So it might as well just sit here, and we can, it's cheaper to drive a car than it is an RV.
Well, and month-to-month rates are cheaper.
Right, yeah.
I mean, a monthly rate is cheaper than a weekly rate.
And, I mean, no matter where you go, you're going to be paying, a campground fee most likely, unless you happen to be near 1,000 trails. We are nowhere near 1,000 trails. So we felt comfortable leaving it here because it is in a military campground that's on base. So, it's
pretty secure.
It's pretty secure. It doesn't mean that things don't happen on military bases, but the likelihood is a lot lower.
It lessens the opportunity for people to do things.
And just like the last time we did it, we've got security cameras, motion sensors and things like that we have in our RV anyway, always, so we know if somebody's going to be messing with our RV. The big difference between this time and last time too was I am more comfortable with our internet solution than I was the last time, so I'm not as nervous about it. I'm pretty confident our stuff's going to work all the time. And if we happen to lose power, batteries are good for almost 24 hours, if not a little bit longer. So we won't, as long as power is restored in that time, we won't lose, our connectivity. And as soon as we get back, we're going to have 2 or 3 days at most here, and then we're on the road to Tampa. So really the biggest thing we're talking about here is for you that are full-timers or are contemplating the full-time lifestyle, or maybe you're most-timers like we used to call ourselves. How comfortable would you be leaving your RV somewhere? It's a lot different now because in the last time we did it, like I said, we still had sticks and bricks. If something would have happened to our RV, we didn't lose that much. Mm-hmm. Everything we own is in this RV now. So if you ever run into a family emergency where you have to be halfway across the country, like in a day or two, really probably couldn't do that in the RV. So, you're going to have to rent a car, you're going to have to fly, whatever the case may be. what do you do with your RV? And that's where having good RV security and a plan really comes into play. Like I said, we have good internet, stable internet, reliable internet, unlimited, that's the key, uncapped internet. So all of our cameras, motion sensors and things like that will work all the time, and I'm not concerned about them not working. And in all honesty, even if you're not planning on ever leaving your RV, or you would never leave your RV, having a good security plan around your RV is important. We have multiple cameras inside and outside of our RV that record and record locally and also upload to cloud storage. Now that's important because a lot of people will just get a camera that has an SD card in it and that's it. Well, that's nice, but if somebody steals your RV, they've stolen the camera too. So your evidence of who stole it and how went with the RV. So that doesn't really help. So while they're cheaper than having one that uploads to a cloud storage, they're not going to help you if something actually does happen to where like somebody steals your RV, or maybe even somebody steals your camera. You're not going to have any evidence to give to police. You're not going to have any leads to give to police. You're just going to tell them that if you do find the RV, there's a camera on it, and if they didn't notice it, they'll have footage of the theft. So spend the money, get a camera that has cloud storage. We're going to be
good insurance.
Yeah. And we're going to do a video later about that and what our solution is to some degree. And I say to some degree because I don't want to give all the details out to our security setup, because that can make it easier for somebody to bypass it. So I'll give you some high levels in a later one. But enough about that. So we're going to be leaving
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and how we're doing this, because again, like Shelly said, we've got to move. Pretty much as soon as we get back. So we're going to be ready to move before we leave. So we're going to dump the tanks before we leave. Clean out the black tank, all that good stuff. Have everything put up, slides in, maybe. What do you think? Should we put the slides in or not? And here's the two sides of that come to mind. If you put the slides in, you're kind of telling everybody around that you're not staying in this RV. So is that a good thing? Or should you just leave the slides out because it only takes a couple of minutes to bring slides in? Or should you leave the slides out so it still gives the appearance that you are here or could be here?
But if it's windy,
yeah. But if you run into some really super high winds, and we have slide toppers on all 4 of our slides, there's a potential there that we could have some damage to them due to high winds. So what do you think is the best course of action there? It's kind of one of those, it could go either way. So, but we want to hear from you guys. And again, we're saying this again, we want to hear from you guys. What's your thoughts on this whole process of leaving your RV behind? Especially from full-timers. I know a lot of part-timers do it. They do this time of year every year because they put it in a storage facility, winterize, and they'll see it again, when spring comes around. So there's some anxieties, I know with that a lot of people have a lot of concerns about, being, your RV being broken into and things like that. So what are your thoughts on leaving your RV behind, especially as a full-timer, because this will be our first time doing that. And it probably won't be the last for one reason or another. It's definitely going to be an interesting time while we're gone. Now granted, we're only gone, like I said, about 11 or 12 hour drive. So if something really serious did happen here where the RV is, we can get back here pretty quickly. Yeah.
Even though it was my idea to leave it behind and just take a car and drive out real quick and come back, but I would say I'm probably the one that has the most anxiety about it, because I love having my stuff. I mean, doesn't everybody? Isn't that part of why we have our homes everywhere we go, is that we don't have to stay anywhere else? But we realize that when we get there, our daughter wants us to stay in her home and we just end up parking the RV down the street and, you know, paying for another rate. So it didn't really make sense to take it.
And when we went to Texas, we didn't stay in the RV. It stayed at an RV park for a couple of days, off base, right on the interstate. I mean,
Yeah.
right next to the interstate. And then we got it on base and stayed there for about a week. So we've already kind of experienced leaving the RV behind, but we didn't really think about it because, yeah, we left it behind because we weren't staying in it every night, but we were only like 15 minutes away from it.
Yeah, so it doesn't really feel like the same thing.
Right.
So it's true, we did leave it behind for 1 week. Well, 10 days, I guess. But it's different when it's still, even 12 hours though, even though you can get in the car and hop right back here and be here in a day and all that, there's still a level of anxiety that's like, you're not right there. And I think that's my issue, is I like to...
So I guess
I like
another
control
thing,
of all my stuff.
another thing we'd like you guys to comment and give us some feedback on is, how can I lower her anxiety? Or more importantly, how can I deal with her anxiety? We don't even have luggage anymore.
We even recently...
My luggage might
looked-
be a Walmart bag.
Right, we even recently looked that if we wanted to stay overnight on our way, like, you know, we still had some points from when we used hotels. And so we're like, well, we could just do that. But we realized that we haven't used a hotel in a long time. We got points, but we haven't used a hotel in like a very long time. And that was kind of funny because we used to stay in hotels quite a bit.
The last time I
Quite
stayed in
a
a
bit.
hotel was in August of 2019 for work. I don't even know the last time you stayed in a hotel. So it's been longer
Wow.
been longer than that. So, you know, it's been over a year.
Because why, right?
Why we bought this. Something we didn't consider when we came into this full time, because Shelly even asked about keeping suitcases, and I said, why do we need suitcases? We have this. And so I said, we'll just get rid of the suitcases. Now, in all honesty, that was a really easy decision because we needed to replace the suitcases anyway. So I think our mindset was, well, if we need a suitcase, we'll buy a suitcase because these are about to fall apart.
Except mine. We have one.
Right, one small one.
Yep.
I'll be in a backpack and Walmart bags. I'm really looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this, and if it's something you thought about, those of you who are either in the full-time life now or you are contemplating the full-time life, this is just another one of those things that you need to consider in your full-time plans. Is you may end up having to leave the RV behind. How do you do that, and how do you deal with that? Psychologically and actually practically, how do you deal with that? Like security. I know some people would say even well, you should unhook everything. You know, don't even turn off the electric. Well, if we turn off the electric, that means our fridge dies, and that means everything in it dies. That means we have to clean the fridge out before we leave and leave the fridge open, and that doesn't make any sense to us whatsoever. So we're going to leave the electric hooked up. Now the water, that's a no-brainer. We're going to disconnect the water, and here's the key with the disconnecting the water. If you just turn off the water, then anybody, some kids running around playing or whatever, anybody can come turn the water back on. So you either disconnect the hose from the other end or have some other way to stop water. Now, our wet bay where the hose connects into our RV is behind a locked door. And I have a valve on the hose inside the door that I can just turn the water off there. So turn the water off, release the pressure on the water as well. So we'll run the water in here to get rid of the pressure in the system too. And that'll help if we do get a little bit of cold. Because this is December when we're filming this. The furnace will stay on, heat pump and stuff like that. But it's going to be turned down really, really low, like 50 or something, because we don't care how cold it gets in here while we're not in it. And also, I can adjust the temperature, turn on the heat, air conditioner, whatever, remotely. So, didn't mean to be too clickbaity with the title, but it was accurate. We are leaving the RV behind, and we are coming back to the RV, and we are going to the Florida RV Super Show in Tampa. Yeah. So we're kind of nervous on a lot of levels.
Just a little bit.
And a lot of it sounds silly, I know. It's like, really, people are driving all over the country all the time still. Like, yeah, yes, I know people are still driving all over the country still. So I guess one of the comments we're going to get is you should have a checklist. And that's a good idea.
Great idea.
So we probably won't do that because it is a good idea, and I won't do it. I'm like, I don't need a checklist. It's all right here, where everything goes to disappear.
We're really excited about it, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the road with us. See you at our next adventure.
Bye.